Hi, I'm Tom Marks with the Marks Law Firm, and welcome to the Healthy Family Law Attorney. So today I have a question that I'm going to pose that's been asked of me, actually. So that is, what do you do in a situation where you have a small family business, and what do you do with the business in the divorce process? So let's dive right in. So I think you have four options here. One, you can sell the business and then split the proceeds in some fashion, typically equally, unless you've got other assets that you're distributing in the equitable distribution worksheet and other liabilities. But it can be part of the equitable distribution of the marriage if it's a marital asset. If it's a non-marital asset, then it gets a lot more complicated, and we can talk about that in a minute. So you either sell the business, you buy out your spouse, their interest in the business, or number three, they buy you out, your interest in the business, or fourth, you keep the business and run it together. So that to me is the most difficult of all the options. And let me just start with that one. So 35 years of practice, I've only seen that done 2 or 3 times. And it's very complicated. Obviously, you're getting a divorce, so you're not getting along great. And how are you going to run this business? Who's going to make the decisions? Are you going to be equal shareholders? And so are there going to be deadlocks when the two of you cannot agree? So when I've been required to do that in the past, we brought on business law attorneys that can draft very detailed, somewhat complex documents, setting up an advisory panel that can break ties if necessary, if the two former spouses don't agree on a particular decision regarding the business. It can also delegate certain types of decisions to one of the former spouses and other types of decisions to the other former spouse. But generally, I'm going to say it's fraught with peril, very complicated, very difficult to do, because things become typically more complex over time because the former spouses meet new significant others. They may get remarried. The children, they may have conflict with the minor children, as all of those parenting decisions have to be made. And then now you got the mix with new significant others or new marriage partners in that process. So it's typically not something I recommend. And I've had it where it succeeded for a year or two, and then it became too difficult, and they went ahead and dissolved the business partnership at that point, and one of the parties typically will buy out the other party. So let's get to the other options. Either you buy out your spouse or they buy you out. Either way, you're going to need to value the business. And so business valuations can be expensive depending on the size of the business, the type of the business, the complexity of the business. And then you've got to decide what type of valuation do you agree upon? Do you do a net asset value? Do you do a market approach? Do you do an income approach? There's several different types of valuations. So the net asset value is simply adding up the tangible assets of the company, equipment, machinery, bank accounts, office furniture, computers, whatever. And then that value is typically lower than like an income approach or a market approach, where there's multiples of profitability, of income, depending on, and it depends on what the multiple is. Like, let's say you have a business that throws off $500,000 a year in income. Depends the type of business, because there might be a multiple of anywhere from 1 to 5. 5 times earnings, it's a $2.5 million business. 1 times, it's a $500,000 business. So who you hire as your business valuation expert is going to be really important. The problem there is if you're buying your spouse out, you hire the expert, they say it's only worth 500,000, your spouse thinks it's worth 2.5 million, then they're going to have to retain an expert, and then you're going to have 2 different valuations perhaps. So it gets very complicated. Then just to add a little bit of complexity, it depends on how much of the business is enterprise goodwill and how much of the business is personal goodwill. So personal goodwill is attached to the individual. Like if you have a business owner and it's John Smith equipment rentals, and how much of that is John Smith out there creating relationships and marketing the business, and if John walks away from the business, how much is it worth? Well, that's where personal goodwill comes in, and there's no value typically ascribed to that. Business enterprise goodwill is like, a publicly traded company. IBM is all enterprise goodwill. It's not any individual. So all of that is valued in the business valuation. So it's complicated in getting to a number for the valuation of the business if one of the spouses is buying the other one out. All right, the last option is you sell the business. That's probably the simplest. It may not be the most favored option because you may be emotionally attached to the business, or your spouse is. They started it, they built it up, they're running the business, that's their source of income. What are they going to do after you sell the business? They're going to have to either start a new business or go out and get a job. But I will say, when you sell the business, that's the clearest indication of the value, right? What a willing buyer and a willing seller at an arm's length transaction are willing to agree upon is the value. So it depends how you structure the deal. Is it an all cash deal? Is it paid out over time? Can be some complexities there. So that all gets put into the equitable distribution worksheet. That equity means fairness. Distribution means how do you divide up or distribute the marital assets and debts. Oh, I did mention that what if some of it's non-marital? Let's say the wife had started the business prior to the marriage and built it up over a 5-year period, and it's worth a couple $1 million, whatever it's worth. Then the parties get married and the business continues to grow in value. How much of the growth of the business becomes marital? Is it passive growth or is it active because of the active labor, the marital labor of the spouse that owned the business before the marriage? So is the, let's say, $2 million in value that it was worth prior to the marriage kept as non-marital, and then the appreciated value, how much of that, let's say it's worth now $4 million, the additional $2 million in value, is that all due to marital labor? Is it due to just the market? Things have gotten busier and the economy is doing well and it's increased in value. That's where you need, again, a business valuation expert to value it, at least, even if you're selling it, to determine what portion of the sale was marital and what portion was non-marital. So I know this is a little bit of a complicated subject, but I have a number of clients that do have businesses and it comes into play. And we have a number of business valuation experts that we use that are well established, well recognized, have solid reputations with the court system and with the community. So we can always help with those types of cases, those types of situations. So hopefully you found some value in this video today. I always enjoy making these videos, so if you like it, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another video. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.